This is from ABC News. Climate change is altering the length of days on Earth, according to new research. Scientists are discovering more ways global warming is affecting the planet. The days are getting longer as global temperatures continue to rise, new research shows. As ice sheets at the Earth's poles melt, the redistribution of mass from the resulting sea level rise is increasing the length of day at an unprecedented rate. For millennia, Earth's length of day has been gradually increasing by a few milliseconds per century. The increase is largely due to the moon's gravitational pull, which has gradually slowed Earth's rotation, as well as the glacial adjustment process, that is, the movement of molten rock in the planet's mantle towards the polar regions, specifically in the northern hemisphere. But melting ice sheets and glaciers in the Arctic and Antarctica but melting ice sheets and glaciers in the Arctic and Antarctica also have had an increasing effect on length of day due to the transportation of large amounts of mass from the poles to the equator. The researchers found after examining the impact of climate change induced sea level rise on length of day since 1900. As a result, the Earth's normal oblate shape, resembling a somewhat flattened sphere bulging at the equator, is flattening even more. A sustained increase of the length of day on Earth has always been evident, based on data that goes back 3,000 years. But the same amount of increase in milliseconds per century that occurred in the thousands of years prior to the year 2000 is expected to occur in this century alone, and climate change is a likely culprit. By the end of the 21st century, if in the high emission scenarios, it could be that the climate impact alone will overtake the impact of the Earth Moon dynamics. The findings reveal the planetary scale impact of modern climate change on Earth, this study says. It gives context as to the gravity of the ongoing climate emergency. The redistribution of mass driven by melting of the Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets occurred at unprecedented rates over the last 2 decades, according to the study. Fluctuations in sea level have caused the length of Earth's day to vary between 0.3 and 1 milliseconds per century during the 20th century, but since 2000, the length of the day has increased by a rate of about 1.33 milliseconds per century, the researchers found. The length of day could even reach a rate of additional 2.62 milliseconds per century by the end of the 21st century should greenhouse gas emissions continue unabated, the study says. While additional milliseconds added to a day every century won't significantly change day-to-day life for humans on Earth, the impacts will still be profound, mainly on timekeeping. This is from NPR. We're screaming into the void. Across the U.S., heat keeps breaking records. When Joe Pascal moved to the desert city of Palm Springs, California, about 17 years ago, it was hot, but in the mornings and evenings, there was a break from the heat. You could get up in the morning, and it would be relatively cool, and you could enjoy outside, even in the dead of summer, he said. The mornings would just be brilliant. That doesn't exist for us anymore, and it's a huge loss, he says. Palm Springs has broken temperature records one after the another in the last week. The city hit 122 degrees on July 8th, the hottest temperature ever recorded for that day, according to the National Weather Service. Last Friday, the city broke its all-time high temperature record when it hit 124 degrees. Even in the early mornings this week, the temperature has still been in the low 90s and high 80s. Pascal recognizes the connection between his increasingly hot city and climate change, caused largely by humans burning fossil fuels. Sometimes we feel like we're screaming into the void, Pascal says. There's a problem that we need to be addressing. Last year was the hottest year on record for the world. The U.S. is warming up at a faster rate than the global average, which means the effects of global warming will be more pronounced. It's not subtle, says Joellen Russell, an oceanographer and climate scientist at the University of Arizona, who notes her city, Tucson, Arizona, also saw a high temperature record fall this week. We're going to continue breaking temperature records as long as we keep increasing the amount of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, Russell says. In 2015, at a UN conference in Paris, most countries of the world agreed to try to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels by the end of the century. 1.5 degrees is a threshold that scientists say could unleash more severe climate change impacts. Given that global fossil fuel use is still increasing, it's unlikely but not impossible that the world will stay below that 1.5 degrees threshold, according to many international scientists. As of June, the world has already been at or above 1.5 degree threshold for 12 straight months, according to the European Union Climate Change Service. As of June, the world has already been at or above 1.5. We scientists have known for a long time, for decades, that as the world gets warmer, we're going to see our temperature extremes increasing, she says. Climate change is already affecting the people we love, the places we love, and the things we love. The good news is that the world has proven and scalable climate solution, Russell says. These include solar and wind energy combined with batteries. Last year was the fastest growth for renewable energy, according to the International Energy Association. This is from Time magazine. Why Beryl's unprecedented timing is a sign of climate change impact on extreme weather. This week, Hurricane Beryl became the earliest hurricane in history to reach the Category 5 level in the Atlantic Ocean, battering the Caribbean and killing at least 6. And experts say that climate change is making it much more likely for extreme weather events like this to occur. The National Hurricane Center said Thursday that Beryl is expected to bring life-threatening winds and storm surge to Jamaica on Wednesday and the Cayman Islands on Wednesday night and Thursday. The hurricane isn't the only extreme weather event that has occurred around the world over the past few days. Fierce storms led to flooding in Switzerland and Italy, and wildfires raged in Greece and Arizona. While research hasn't proven that climate change is the direct cause of each specific extreme weather event, it has shown that climate change can make some of these disasters more intense and more frequent. It's important to remember there was extreme weather before climate change. Alex Hall, a professor of atmospheric and oceanic sciences at UCLA, tells Time, the climate is variable. The weather is variable. We expect there to be extremes, but it's just that the likelihood of extremes has changed, and the likelihood of these types of events occurring is greater. Hurricanes rely on a warm ocean to form. Because of that, hurricane season usually runs from June through November, when oceans are warm enough for a hurricane to develop, says Marcus C. Seraphim, a physical scientist in the U.S. a physical science in the EPA, Climate Science and Impacts Branch. But Beryl is unusual and unprecedented, Hall adds, because it's happening so early in the hurricane season before the warmest ocean temperatures are usually seen. Current research indicates that while the warming climate will likely lead to less frequent Category 1 and 2 storms, it will lead to more frequently intense storms like Category 4 and 5 hurricanes. Warmer temperatures also allow the Earth's atmosphere to hold more water in it, which can lead to heavy rainfall, says Steve Vargas, a director of the Wisconsin State Climatology Office. Intense rainfall often leads to flooding, which can overwhelm existing stormwater systems, he said. A lot of our infrastructure was built for a different climate than we've seen today, Vargas says. We really need to take stock of how to prepare for the changing climate as we face it in the future. On the other hand, because the atmosphere can hold more moisture that can demand more evaporation, which can lead to drier conditions on land, according to Vavros. Along with record-breaking heat, these dry conditions can bring an increased risk of wildfires. According to a new EPA report released Tuesday, the extent of the area that wildfires have burned in the U.S. has risen since the 1980s. The report found that 10 years with the largest acreage burned by wildfires all occurred since 2004, coinciding with some of the warmest years recorded. Some extreme weather events can also have cascading effects, Hall says. In 2023, smoke from wildfires burning in Canada traveled to New York City, transforming the sky into an orange haze and affecting air quality. Extreme weather events often affect human health, Vavros says. Beryl has caused power outages on several Caribbean islands. The storms in Switzerland and northern Italy have left at least 4 people dead. In addition to the toll on human health, there are financial consequences of climate change, such as rebuilding or repairing the damage caused by flooding or wildfires. The best strategy to reduce the likelihood of these extremes is to reduce our emissions of greenhouse gases, Hall says. We need to slow climate change down and ultimately reverse it. Thanks for watching.